The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 years, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Jesse, aka Dr. Orange Pill,
Hi, everybody.
Adam from Starship Schrodinger's Destiny,
Hello, everyone.
and I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on, the price of Bitcoin is up slightly. The price of Bitcoin is up 1.06% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 71,208, a high of 73,909, and a low of 70,039. That's $1 for 1,405 Satoshis, on the wrong side of the 1,000 Satoshi barrier. Moving on to issue 1, Bitcoin outperforms stocks, top 7,200, even as dollar strengthens. Bitcoin climbed 2% to break through $72,000, while U.S. equity futures slipped and the dollar strengthened as altcoins and AI tokens joined a broader rally. Or as they say over at DL News, Bitcoin price spiked as Iran war rages on as investors pile into redemption trade. They say that the price of Bitcoin was down compared to other investments, so investors from other investments sold their investments and joined the crypto rally. Jesse, what do you think about the price of Bitcoin, which of course, like everything else these days, is inevitably tied into the massive Iran war that the president has started recently?
Oh, that's what I think of that. I don't know. I mean, it's random. It's totally random. Does it really have anything to do with the Iran war? Only from maybe some speculators. I mean, if people in actual Iran, you might think that might be a place for them to run to because their currency has been devalued by 90% over the last, just few years. And just a couple months ago, it was downgraded by another 80%. And that's why there are all those protests in the street. I mean, all their money lost value. I doubt they're the ones piling into Bitcoin now. So it's probably just a few speculators or maybe sailors buying today. I don't know, but it's sort of just, I think it's just random. I think it's just a coincidence. Any given day, the stock price could go up a couple percents more than Bitcoin or vice versa. It's just what happened over the last day or two. And well, I'll talk more about that later too when we get into one of the other topics. But that's sort of that's my take on that one.
It does seem like it has an almost clown car quality of the price going back and forth as investors swing from gold to silver to Bitcoin to stocks to gold to bonds to silver. Nobody knows where's to go. Our only hope on this Iran war, and I've said this before to my friends, and I say it here, is this theory of taco, that Trump will chicken out and that he will move along, and that even though I think Iran won't chicken out and they're going to keep striking us, we might just say, hey, this war's over. We're moving on to the next culture war topic or whatever we're going to do. We'd like to welcome, go ahead, Jess, a little more.
I was going to say, according to Trump, I believe we already did win the war. It's actually, we already won it. We're just sort of doing like the little final little toe taps around there. So, dear leader is in charge, and I think we're going to be just fine.
Well, it's very reassuring, and I'm glad that we have declared victory. We've done it before on an aircraft carrier. We'd like to welcome Adam, Starship Schrodinger's Destiny, to the show. What do you think about the price of Bitcoin and, of course, the inevitable connection to the war in Iran?
Well, last week I said it'd probably go up, and it has indeed gone up. We're about 8% up over last week. But on the other hand, we've been 69K for about 4 years now. So sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. It has been interesting watching everything apart from Bitcoin crash since the war starts. But I think it's just because Bitcoin already did its crashing since October.
I think you did say 69,420 at some point, and we're still fighting out those battles. Unfortunately, I don't see it as much on the famous chart websites. They don't say, "Oh, it's the 69,420 battle" or any of that, but we do continue to hear it and continue to think about it. Let's see. We're going to go to the exit question, predicting against the magic 8-ball, the source of all truth and knowledge in this universe. Just see, will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week?
Absolutely. It will be up by at least $22.14.
At least $22.14. Adam, what do you think? Will the price of Bitcoin be higher or lower this time next week?
We've had a couple of tries to get over 74K, and we will have success above 74K next week.
There it is. The bear has lifted, but now we ask the magic 8-ball, the true source of truth and knowledge in this universe. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? Let's see. It says, very hard to read. It says, ask again later. Ask again later, and maybe buy a new magic 8-ball. I don't know. Mine doesn't seem to work anymore. Like, it floats to the top, but there's like a lot of bubbles, and there's like, you can see the whatever it is, 20-sided die or whatever is in there. Oh well. So we're gonna go with ask again later for today, and we're gonna move on to issue 2. Issue 2, JPMorgan says Bitcoin and gold ETFs show sharp flow divergence since Iran war. That's right. More and more people are selling gold and buying Bitcoin. And we're seeing an example again of how easy it is to flip back and forth between these investments now that we have Bitcoin ETFs. They're in the same market as diamond ETFs or gold or silver or anything else. And if you want to change your investment, even if it's hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, you can just flip it back and forth. Adam, what do you think about JPMorgan saying that Bitcoin and gold have diverged? And again, we're seeing the return of that Bitcoin digital gold narrative, as we'll talk more about later.
They're not only talking about paper Bitcoin, they're talking about paper gold as well, aren't they? There's no actual gold and no actual Bitcoin changing hands in these transactions. So I'm not sure what right it has to set the price. But as I say, it has been interesting that since the war, Bitcoins have been going up and gold's been going down. But I'm not convinced the war's the reason for that. I think it just might be the rotation. Gold has gone up a lot in the past. Bitcoin's gone down. It's time for both to return to their average.
It does seem to be the beauty of the situation. They're not trading gold that exists. They're not trading Bitcoin that exists. And yet they're affecting the price of both. It's like the Holy Roman Empire. Like, it's not holy. It's not Roman. It's not an empire. Jesse, what do you think about JPMorgan's advice or commentary on the flow of Bitcoin?
Thomas, you might know the answer to this. Didn't JPMorgan get in a lot of trouble for like manipulating gold for a very, very long time? Like paper gold and placed some huge fine. I don't know.
I think they had a major case mainly on silver, I think, on manipulating the price downward. And they were involved. Many other banks were involved. I'd have to look it up to get the details.
All right. So yeah, something basically to that effect. So yeah, I mean, then they put out an article and says, "Hey, look, everybody's going into Bitcoin now, and so now we can sell it while you buy into it." You know, I don't. If you're reading those articles and using that as your guidepost for like what's actually happening in the world, you know, it's probably true. I mean, it's probably factually true that happened. But again, like it could just be a coincidence. It could be them themselves doing it, or that's probably. I mean, gold. Sorry, gold and silver have been grossly overvalued recently too. So there's an obvious need for them to sort of recalibrate, and so Bitcoin might be a place for them to go, especially when it's been down roughly 50% over the last few months. But so that's sort of my take on that one.
I do think we're seeing natural market flows, even though Bitcoiners don't want to acknowledge that these are true. When people win in other markets, they sometimes brightly, not like us, sell some of their profits, then move it into another investment. So we see these markets rotate like a crop circle, and the Bitcoiners just stay here with the hodl, and we ride up and down, and we hate it. Whereas, I don't know, these smarter guys are out there like, oh, I'll do some gold, I'll do some silver, I'll do some bonds or some stocks and some Bitcoin. And their rotation, I believe, is causing this monetary flow in and out of these systems. Ken. And we do have an update from the Google AI. It says that JPMorgan Chase paid over $920 million in 2020 to settle federal charges that its traders manipulated precious metals markets, including silver, between 2008 and 2016. I think this is key. It says traders engaged in spoofing, placing false orders they intended to cancel in order to deceive others and create artificial price movements. So it's interesting to see not only what they were accused and what they paid $920 million to settle, but how they did it. As I'm sure you guys recall in the recent Jane Street case, the complaint has the how they did it section blacked out because I think that someone else could step in and do whatever Jane Street did and manipulate the market again. Not that it's a secret, but you'd hate to have that formula out there like the anarchist cookbook, just something easy to make up. Adam, did you have more on this? Go ahead.
It's not market manipulation. It's not fraud. It's just spoofing. It's perfectly fine.
It is funny they use the hacker language when it comes to this. They don't use their special banker jargon, market manipulation, or it's just a hedge fund. They're just hedging and these kind of things. They have special words for all these, except when they're in trouble. Let's move on to
one last comment on that one. I'm sure, by the way, between those 8 years that they were manipulating, they definitely made less than $900 million. So I bet that fine was very, very scary for them, and they really learned their lesson. So that's the good news.
It is amazing how 900 million seems a lot to a normal person, but to this giant bank, like you say, if they made 1.2 billion, who cares about 900 million or so forth? And it just seems so obvious again that our laws and our regulators and so forth need to have this as a standard. If you break the law and you make lots of money as a corporation, you have to pay all that money back and then a penalty on top of that money. It's similar to what they do in, say, Major League Baseball. If a sports star screws up, they don't just fine him like $300 that would hurt you or me. They fine him $30,000 or whatever, something they think will hurt the sports star. We don't have that kind of system for businesses or bankers. Isn't that interesting? Let's move on. Check out worldcryptonetwork.com, where according to the worldcryptonetwork.com built by DJ Booth, we have 4,800 videos, including shorts and such. You can check out some of the new ones. I put up my old videos. I know they're old now. Other people don't and are commenting on them and say they're new. But Vice President J.D. Vance, speaking at the Bitcoin Las Vegas conference, obviously months and months ago, as well as some more random Bitcoin highlights and things that I recorded on my camera, as well as the usual short clips from the previous episodes of the Bitcoin group, and more at worldcryptonetwork.com. Moving on to issue 3, Department of Treasury. Treasury tells Congress that mixers have valid privacy uses, recommends hold law for suspicious crypto. Yes, it's a radical change for the department, which just as recently as 6 months ago prosecuted Tornado Cash and said that mixers were obvious use of crime. Now, basically, I believe because of the Trump administration changing the leadership, the U.S. Treasury has released a report saying that mixers can serve valid financial privacy purposes, a noticeable shift from the agency that has sanctioned Tornado Cash in 2022. Let's go to Jess C. What do you think about the Department of Treasury changing their mind at least a little bit on mixers and privacy?
Well, it's good news. I mean, it's actually a relatively normal kind of response. The Trump administration and their family are like way into like the crypto space, so they're definitely going to be for it anyway. So that probably leans that way because of that, maybe more. But in point of fact, it's a great thing. It did say that there's some money laundering, but there's money laundering with cash. So, with this, at least it's programmable money. I mean, it's going into the mixer and then being shoved out into either Tether or USDC, probably Tether. And so the reasonable and intelligent response sounds like kind of what they're talking about is basically what a bank would do if all of a sudden you're funneling $10 million into your account or even $1 million. They might just go like, where'd this come from? And that's basically what they're kind of saying. It sounds like the kind of direction they're going, where they're just saying it's totally illegal. And obviously, there's some reasons why you might want to have some privacy. I mean, that's like obvious. But in this case, they're talking about for corporations, not for people. But corporations would need that too if they're actually going to use this financial instrument. They might not want everybody knowing exactly where they're sending it to and when all the time. So it's a totally reasonable and good response, and I hope they keep moving forward with it, and some laws get structured into there.
I think it's great that they changed it, but I'm disappointed that it could easily be changed back. I kind of prefer the old system where we decide based upon what we think is right and weighing the facts and so forth, rather than the new system where we decide whatever the political regime at the time is. Obviously, with the Trump administration, they're pro crypto, like Jess said. They're going to change this. We as the crypto people are going to say yay. But unfortunately, I don't think we're winning on principle. I think we're winning on temporary political power. Let's go to Adam. What do you think about this? The Treasury Department changing their mind on mixers.
Despite what the governments and the surveillance capitalists will have you believe, privacy is in fact entirely normal. It's normal to be private. It's normal to have secrets. It's not normal for Mark Zuckerberg, that creep, to know everyone's location, all their friends, and who they're talking to or when they're talking to them. It's not normal for every government to know every transaction that happens financially across their entire fiat banking system, and yet they do. So hopefully we can make Bitcoin actually private, because to me that's the biggest flaw on the blockchain as we've got it, is this: every time you pay someone, you expose all of your prior transactions to everyone you pay, which can't be good. A hold law that can only apply to brokers and exchanges, can't it? You can't have a hold law that applies to miners. So as long as you're on chain, you should still be fine, even if you're dealing stolen goods.
It does seem like they're going to have to change it, and they're going to have to allow people to have privacy, as well as to change the Bitcoin code. Like Adam was saying, all of our transactions are indeed exposed. This was fun recently. I've been working with some apps and AI trying to make modifications for the Curio Cards network. And Curio Cards are only a collectible, so it's like owning a baseball card, so it's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. Whereas if you were perhaps holding millions and millions of dollars in crypto and transferring it around, it wouldn't be that great if someone knew about it, whether that someone's the government or a bad person that wants to do you harm. There's obvious reasons to have privacy, not even to go into the, say, having an illicit use or having a quasi-legal use or something that's frowned upon or so forth that you would want to buy with your crypto. It would be a disaster to expose your wallet. We've changed my audio from live performance audio to Zoom noise canceling audio, and I think it's slightly better. So thanks for the note in the chat. Sorry we didn't get it sooner. Any more on this issue about the Treasury and mixers? Obviously, the hypocrisy of keeping Tornado Cash guys in jail, all the angry posts that they put up, all the angry press releases. This is very similar to how bad the Silk Road was and what an evil person Ross Ulbricht was, when in reality the FBI kept it running for several weeks or months to try to catch more people, but exposing the same harms and putting themselves in the position of victimizing those people. Any more on this, guys? No. All right. Let's move on quickly to issue 4. We've been talking about this for a while, and now it's coming true. A new proposal would ban crypto ATMs in Minnesota. They're tired of their old folks being targeted, and they've found the culprit. It's crypto ATMs that let people move their money too easily and use an untraceable, or actually easily traceable but uncancelable thing like Bitcoin to send the money. Part of the proposal, which would certainly crush the crypto ATM business in Minnesota, is that crypto ATM owners and operators would now be responsible if someone sends their money to the wrong person or is scammed. That would be a disaster for crypto ATM companies. Martine in the chat has already written us. I can't find the image. Oh, here it is. It's right here. General Bytes has a solution for this. I'm not sure how this works, but Martine has sent us a link to a smart safe, a GB safe by General Bytes, that would control the cash. I think maybe it's a one-way wallet or a one-way ATM I'm not sure how this gets around the regulation, but shout out to Martine, who says General Bytes already has a solution to this and that they can do it with a different machine. Let's go to the group here. Adam, what do you think about Bitcoin ATMs? We've been talking about them for a long time here. Obviously, it's a great way to get your first few Satoshis. A long time ago, I would tell you that you could use it without KYC. I don't think that's possible anymore. They're very KYC'd, but unfortunately, it seems more that they're used by scammers to vampire their victims rather than happy crypto people, buying a couple $100 here or there.
Outside of toy ones at hackerspaces, I don't think I've seen one at all in the wild. You put cash money, and it's like a coin counter, is it?
Well, the one that Martine seems to have sent seems more like a safe, and perhaps it would hold the funds, giving the user maybe 24 hours or something, perhaps to come back and claim their funds. Perhaps that's the difference. I'm not sure. But in general, yeah, a Bitcoin ATM is just like a normal ATM, which have been around for a long time. But unfortunately or fortunately, you can put your funds in and then send them to an address. The address doesn't necessarily have to be yours. In this way, the ATM is like complicit in the crime, right? And then there's all these fantastic scammers who have trained on the internet. And we have the best training software for this. And they keep the grannies or whatever on the phone the whole time. It's hard for you and I to understand, but even a nice lady in like Berkeley, who's like a teacher, who's like my age, was scammed by this because they keep them on the phone and they keep them on the phone and they go to the ATM and they put all their money in. And apparently Minnesota's had enough.
But the only ATMs I've ever used, they give you cash money out. You can't put cash money in. I've never seen one that lets you feed it notes. It feeds me notes. It seems backwards.
In the UK, do they not have deposit ATMs? Because we have for like say a normal bank, you could put money in your checking and savings account at the ATM, usually of your bank or a bank in your like network. They have like a credit union network and a Bank of America network, and you can deposit that way. But yes, it seems that a lot of these crypto ATMs are two-way. I think they're all banned in the UK now. Originally, they were there. Our friend used to operate one when it was legal, of course. And I think they're all banned in your whole country.
And I'm sure that having banned them, people are still doing scams, people are still doing frauds, and people are still managing to get Bitcoin to send to ransom software. So I'm not sure that a ban would make much difference. I am fascinated by the idea of a machine counting my cash. So I deposited some checks at the ATM, but I don't think I've ever fed it cash money.
We have the original system was more for checks, like you're saying, or you could say if you made like a bunch of money lawn mowing, you could put it in an envelope and send it through and they'd count it. We actually have new machines now where even with a check, you can send it through and it'll scan both sides of it. Or with cash, you just send it through without an envelope and it'll say, oh, this is, $20 or this is $80 or whatever, and it will put it in your account. So that is a new thing we have. But again, this is probably more of the freedom of money in the United States, things that you don't see in other countries and things that we're not going to have here anymore because of obviously these scammers taking part of this loophole. I just want to remind everyone, because I can see it seared in my memory, that even back in the day when we had command line versions of antiviruses, one of the first scams would do exactly what these new scams do. It would find your important files, it would encrypt them, it would keep the key, and then it would say, send us through snail mail, money in a peanut butter jar or money in a jar or whatever it is, through snail mail. And that's how they would scam the people. So it's the same scam as 20, 30 years ago. It's just a lot more efficient. It's a lot easier to collect the money. And unfortunately, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and especially these ATMs are part of the distribution network, part of the scam network. And the Minnesota people seem to be deciding this is how they're going to stop it. Jess C., what do you think? Are crypto ATMs all about scams? And obviously we're going to lose this war, but are we going to lose it quickly?
Well, first of all, just as a general thing, I don't totally know why anybody would really want to use a Bitcoin ATM, especially because you have to do, at least here in New York, you got to put your passport in there. So it's like crazy. I tried to do it once years and years ago. And that was, Thomas, you said at some point it was no KYC. By the time I learned about it, there was. And when I realized I'd put my, then what's the point? So from that purpose, I don't I don't really know why would someone wouldn't just use a Cash App or Coinbase or Strike or whatever. It's so much easier to do it on your phone. However, aside from that, just as like a rights thing, making someone making someone responsible for, if someone goes into your, I mean, look, maybe they could put a sign on the thing saying, "Hey, don't put money in here unless you really know who you're sending it to," or like be really sure for yourself, or having some limit of how much you can put in there. It might be a relatively responsible thing to do if it's a real problem. But I mean, it's like if someone walked in front of your building and decided to just like do a backflip for no reason, and then they fell on their head, and then you're responsible for that. It's like, for that reason, I feel bad for them. But I don't know. I have kind of mixed feelings about it. I don't really know maybe I don't know the main purpose of why it's better to have a Bitcoin ATM than just using your phone, or but and if you don't have a phone, for example, who the fuck are you? I mean, what are you doing? Like, what? I don't know. So I don't know. That's my response to that.
It's hard to believe, but it does seem like a remnant or a piece of history of another time where your first way to get Bitcoin would be totally sketchy. Meet someone on local Bitcoins. Even a lot of people say meet them at the bank. That way you take the money out and you put the Bitcoin in your safe box or whatever you got to do, and you can do it all right there and no one has to worry. So that was the first way you could get Bitcoin. And of course, that was no KYC, although local Bitcoins had your account and they had your IP and the God knows what else. And so it wasn't that clean. And then there was people meeting at meetups and they would just be friendly and say, "Hey, I want to buy $100 in Bitcoin or whatever, or $20 usually probably." And, as long as they give you a real bill, it works out fine. So these were the ways you could get Bitcoin. The ATMs was like a local Bitcoins that was open all the time, where you didn't have to meet a sketchy guy. You could just go to 7-Eleven. You could just go to one of these places. And for a lot of people who make cash money or, work cash jobs, they could seamlessly put their cash from their work into their Bitcoin, which again is probably a potential tax problem, obviously, and so forth. And originally, these machines had no KYC, so no one knew where this money went. Even after the KYC was established, an interesting historical fact: we had a Bitcoin ATM at Purse.io, and we had it on Mission Street at 16 Mission, this co-working type space. And we set it up, the nerds and all that, with our nerd friends and their ATM companies and all that. And we thought it'd be fine, but we talked to the people who work there, and they said, you guys are fine. You guys are, nerd guys, we get it. But the people that come in and use the ATM are essentially the worst people in the world. Like, you guys have opened a portal to the underworld here in our shop. And the basic thing that we'd hear, and I've said this before, so everyone heard, but is that, I believe that, allegedly, I know nothing about this, but pimps would have their prostitutes come in and put the money in the ATM and send it back to the pimps. So now the pimps are getting free, tax-free, information-free, KYC-free Bitcoin, and the prostitutes are getting it now on their tax account if they ever pay taxes and so forth. So again, a total disaster. As a company, we had no idea this was happening. Even when they told us, we don't believe it. But this can happen with the Bitcoin and the crypto ATMs. And it's the same thing where we think we're bringing in the high class crypto crowd with their laptops and their iPhones or whatever, but we end up attracting these bad things. And it's also an interesting historical note that during the Soviet Union, what I've read or whatever, is that you could buy US dollars and Levi jeans on every street corner. So that's the end of these laws. The end of these laws is everyone has Bitcoin. Everyone will change you a 20. No one cares where it comes from, and it all works out. Right now, while we're small, they can cut off these things. They can track these 20s. They can, narrow it down. They can call it drug money or tax evasion money or whatever it's going to be. And I think we're going to keep having these problems, and that's why we keep covering this crypto ATM thing, which again, we predicted here first that we would have serious problems with this. But it's really funny. It's funny and sad to see it go from like a total hobbyist thing. And a lot of my friends have worked in Bitcoin ATM companies and stuff, and they're totally, on the board. They want to just deliver crypto to people who buy it. And even as you said, Jess, at this one of the first couple Bitcoin meetups I would go to, there was a guy who owned a Bitcoin ATM, and that means he would carry it in. it was a big, heavy Lamassu machine, and he'd set it down. I don't know the details, but people would buy $20 or $100 from him or whatever, and they could just do it to him directly and do it on his phone. But there's a novelty to having the machine bring up the QR code and you scan it and it sends it to you. And, you bought it from the ATM, and he had, lots of tax things he had to file and so forth. And again, his main problem was getting enough cash for the ATM, getting enough Bitcoin for the ATM, like keeping the machine stocked was the problem for this business. So you got to imagine.
I guess if you've got cash money and actual notes and coins, then that's why you can't use your phone. You can't buy Bitcoin with notes and coins using your phone. But certainly in London, no one's got cash anyway. The only people who accept cash are drug dealers, and they won't accept Bitcoin, only notes and coins.
That's definitely a problem. We've also seen in Las Vegas, we predicted that one of the uses could be, let's say that you won a bunch of money gambling. Now, a lot of that money does come with the tax form anyway, if you hit it big on a slot machine or whatever, or if you even try to cash it out at the cashier's thing. But there was an idea. Perhaps you could hide it from your wife or hide it from your business partner or your accountant or whatever. Put that money in a crypto ATM. It sends Bitcoin to your account or your piece of paper or whatever. You save it for 5-10 years, and who knows what happens. So unfortunately, most of the uses you can think of for these machines, and I think it's above board. A waiter saves his tips, or a guy that works construction saves his construction money and puts it in the Bitcoin ATM instead of into the savings account ATM, which is probably legit, but even then probably tax evasion. So it's hard to say that the uses of these machines are not necessarily mainly illicit, and then it becomes a hard battle to keep them open. And I do think we're going to see continued attacks on this front. And they're going to be indefensible. They're going to line up grandma after grandma that got scammed, and every story is going to be true, and every story is going to end with a Bitcoin address or Ethereum or whatever it is being sent and being unrestorable. There's an idea that the company could make the people right. It's obviously going to bankrupt these companies. It'd be a disaster, even if there wasn't, say, insider fake stealing or whatever it is. Who knows? But we'll continue to cover this. We're going to keep an eye on Bitcoin ATMs as they become like the dinosaurs and go extinct. We've also read that 20 million Bitcoins have been mined. There's only 1 million Bitcoins left to mine for the next till 2140 or so, quite a while, the next 120 years or so. As it says here on the Kraken blog, why Bitcoin's fixed supply cap still matters. And it says that basically for 17 years, they have kept the promise of the 21 million Bitcoin limit, which was started with the original Bitcoin. Although I don't think it was in the Genesis block. I think it was added later. I don't think that it was locked at 21 million, but now it's become a rallying cry. People sing about it and dance about it, the importance of this and the promise that Bitcoin will not raise the amount of units. Let's go to Starship. Adam, what do you think about 17 years of keeping a promise? Bitcoin locked at 21 million units and only 1 million left to mine, which I think must scare a lot of people when you try to explain that to them.
Yeah, Satoshi was smarter than I am. If I'd have invented Bitcoin, I'd have just let it inflate at 2% forever and kept the mining reward forever. And just because that's what I thought the banks had told me you were supposed to have, 2% inflation forever. So hooray, we're 20 million down, 1 million to go. And then there'll be no more. And whether we still have miners or not depends on if we can have fees. I'm glad that we have kept the promise, and that's the main thing, that the monetary supply is not that it's fixed, I don't think, but that it's immutable. You can't change the policy. So that's the thing. Yes, hooray. Let's celebrate. There's only 1 million to go.
There's so many different other choices Satoshi could have made. He could have kept the 2%. He could have put it into a random wallet. It could be like a lottery coin. There's anything he could have done, like Starship saying, most of the systems are designed to expand. Most monetary systems, most banks, central banks, government banks, all of these things are on the inflationary expanding model. It's only Satoshi, and this is why it's one of the core libertarian beliefs that can't be separated from Bitcoin, is this idea of ownership, property. If you send the Bitcoin from account to account, it sends. And if you're locked in at 21 million units and you think that you have one of 21 million, that's a promise and a guarantee. And no government, no central bank, no bank has ever made that promise or kept it for 17 years. Jess C., what do you think about the 20th million Bitcoin mined and the 17-year promise?
Yay. I think it's beautiful. It was wonderful. It was a really cool thing. Actually, I think it's really awesome thing to say to somebody, there's only 21 million and 20 of them already exist. There's less than a million to be mined. I looked it up. The Bitcoin inflation rate is currently like 0.83 or something like that. So basically 0.8. So, and it's only going down every 10 minutes. It's literally going down every 10 minutes, the inflation rate. So, and in a couple of years after the next halving, it's going to be below 4.4. And no fiat. It's funny. Adam said 2%. That's laughable. Inflation rate only being 2% of fiat currency. So it's like just going up against every single other thing that exists. That's like a commodity. However, if you want to think of it that way, it's got the premium. It's got the best inflation rate of anything. And so, and as long as it continues to exist, that's the bet. You're only making one bet. It either fails for some reason or it keeps going. And if it keeps going, then there's only one thing that can happen, just like slowly over time, continual adoption, because more people will see, oh yeah, this thing actually works, and they'll get on board. It's kind of amazing. I mean, it's really kind of amazing that we're like looking at this thing with over 100 years for the last million to appear. It's just like wild to think about. It's cool and it's fun and I love it. And I love milestones like this.
It is amazing. We were alive at the time of the first 20 million Bitcoin being mined. It's like being alive when David Bowie was alive or some of the Beatles. And it is pretty amazing. I think it also blends well into our next topic. On the Motley Fool, they say, is Bitcoin now a safe haven asset? If so, then it could be hugely undervalued at just $70,000 a coin. Could the digital gold investment thesis be making a comeback? Bitcoin investors hope so. And I've always felt, just like Jess was saying, that it's inevitable that this scarcity catches up to everybody. Right now, everybody on Earth has not heard that 20 million Bitcoins have already been mined. And they need a lot of time to take that fact in and to say, okay, 20 million are mined. I can get this much. There's only a million left. That means they're probably going to go up in value because there are no more. Everyone's held the line on this promise not to make more for 17 years. The developers are pretty hard to get to, getting all of them to agree, then getting all the miners to switch to your new software without incredible amounts of coercion. Very hard to do. The idea that you could change this 21 million units. So it does seem like eventually everyone's going to know this and they're all going to buy Bitcoin. It's just a question of when it happens. If it happens right away, if it happens next week, if it happens 2 years from now or 10 years from now or 50 years from now, it just does seem inevitable. But what do you guys think about the digital gold thesis of Bitcoin? I think it's always been there. Let's go to Adam. What do you think?
I glanced through that article, and that guy was saying that Bitcoin might go up at 10x in 10 years. That seems like a massive bear to me. He thinks it's not even going to go a million by 2036. It'll definitely hit a million by 2036. He said that the payment story has collapsed and that experiment had failed. But I never thought Bitcoin would be used for payments until it was universally accepted. I think it takes 3 generations for the new money to be built from the ground up, and we're not even 1 generation in. There are no full adults who have known Bitcoin all their life, even now. So I think, Bitcoin needs to be digital gold first so that it can then become generally accepted, so that it can then become the payments that people use. We're going much faster than I imagined, frankly. I think we're well ahead of schedule.
I do think it's way too soon to give up on the Bitcoin as digital payments or Bitcoin as money argument. I think it's similar to what we're saying with the 21 million coins and understanding the value of it. Not everybody gets it yet, but when everybody gets it, it'll be a contagion. Everybody will get it all at once. All of your neighbors will suddenly get it. All the people in the street, everyone will just convert right over. And that's why finding that point where the black swan appears is so hard. We're going to have to wait, and we agree it's inevitable. And I also agree, yeah, that the guy not thinking that it's going to go to a million and only having these small dreams is, again, an example of even an informed and serious investor guy not really understanding what we're saying about the 21 million coin limit, about how serious they're taking that, and that 20 million of them are already mined, already in someone's hand, and just how like stark the happening is. Like, we were alive in a time where they give away like 25 bitcoins or 12 and a half bitcoins. This is an unbelievable fortune right now. That's even, I don't know where it's 70 or whatever, but even taking 100K, that's like 1.2. That's like $2.5 million every 10 minutes given out in this lottery in the old days. And obviously it's gone down, down, down. It's 3. That's like maybe 300K or 210K, whatever today. Still a lot of money, but you have to just see how it keeps going down. And then you have to do the thought experiment. Well, if it keeps going down, does the value of the coin go up? You know, these people are putting all their computers into this, all of their electricity into this, all of their work. The value's got to keep up to keep their interest. And if the value keeps up, then it's a really good investment. It's a thing you should buy, and so on and so forth, allegedly, not financial advice. But I do think that it will dramatically outperform. Jesse, what do you think? Do you agree with investor Edelman, who believes Bitcoin will radically outperform? And as Starship was saying, do you think that the currency argument for Bitcoin is over, or do you think we're just sleeping and dormant and waiting for a comeback?
Great questions. First, what do I think of a random dude I never heard of on the internet saying price go up? I think I like that. Besides that, the currency argument. This is actually a little bit where my sort of thinking on Bitcoin's sort of evolved. I'll say over the last couple of years, and my sort of thought on it is kind of like if Bitcoin right now it's still sort of like we can call it digital gold. Let's just say, I think for sake of argument, it's more like it's not really a medium of exchange. You know what I mean? For normal, you can't buy your coffee, that kind of stuff. So how does that happen? Well, something like Lightning or something like a layer 2 has to hit. So assuming that happens at some point, sort of exactly what Adam was saying, like the generational thing. I never thought of it that way before, but we are at 14 years, and in another 4 years, there will be legal adults who had been alive with Bitcoin their entire life, just like people have been alive with the internet their entire life. At some point, happened like in the early 2000s. So when we get to that point where they figure out the layer 2, the Lightning, the quick micro payments where you can email, text, load your browser, read an article for 2 cents on the New York Times, that kind of stuff you can't do right now because you can't do micropayments. Once that settles, then, and assuming it's not stable coins, it is Bitcoin, or the stable coins bring that in, and then suddenly it's some interchangeable thing with all these various different kinds of currencies. That'll be the next layer. Until that time happens, where we are right now, my belief is sort of like a digital gold kind of thing, store of value kind of thing. And the people that care about that are like the people that kind of care about gold, which are, from my perspective, are not like normal people on the street. We're kind of hitting a point where it's like, for me, this is my sort of thinking now, it's too expensive for a normie to get their head around, that they can buy a Bitcoin. They think they're buying a Bitcoin for $70,000. It's like, just getting past that it's its own level. Plus, they're like, how will I ever use it? And all the other things. So the people that care about Bitcoin to me right now, or that are getting into Bitcoin, are like, like kind of more like people that might be into gold, or might be into like hedging, or might be, I kind of feel like that's why there wasn't such a retail, I guess you could say there was a retail surge through the ETFs, but it's kind of arguable how much of that was retail and how much of it was like more like serious investor kind of things. So anyway, rather than prattle on eternally, my sort of thesis is, right now, Bitcoin's kind of like digital gold. I think it's going to be a relatively slow tick. I think it'll keep kind of doing what it does on the 200-day or 200-week, sort of long-term thing. But in the short term, I think the it's until it breaks through to that next layer, sort of like what Adam says, that next generation where it's really being actually used for like in a normal way for something that normal people use it for. I don't know when that's going to happen. That'll kick it into like, it'll be like the iPhone moment. Then all of a sudden everybody has to have it and use it, and that's all there will be to it. And maybe when the stable coins come through, maybe if this stuff actually goes through this year or next year, maybe that'll be the beginning of something.
I do love that iPhone moment. I remember a long time ago, I was on campus and I had my little sidecar with my anti-skip CD player and my little holder of about 10, 20 CDs. And I was rolling around with my headphones and I was like, this is so great. Why isn't everybody else doing it? And then slowly they all had iPods. And then slowly I had an iPhone and I had this feeling, I was like, this is the greatest toy ever. I hope no one steals this from me because, I loved it. And then everybody else had one. And now you don't really have to worry that much about stealing because everyone has one. They don't need to take yours. And theirs is way better than yours because it's configured to them and what they like and all that stuff. But as far as with the Bitcoin and all of this, I think we have to go back to the famous quote by William Gibson, the sci-fi writer. And he said, the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. And you're watching this show and you're Bitcoin crazy and you've been in it 5, 10 years, whatever, you're hardcore, right? But other people haven't even heard the word. They haven't even heard the news about the 20 million Bitcoin mined and that there's only 21 million forever and what that means. And it's going to take them a long time to hear it. They're not out there searching for it. They're not looking for articles. They're not on the net. They're not reading books about it. They're not into sci-fi. They're not into libertarianism. They're not thinking the kind of thoughts that will bring Bitcoin to them. In fact, they're being taught by the media and others to avoid Bitcoin and avoid information and knowledge about this. We've reached a major milestone where we're commonly a joke on late night. Usually that Bitcoin is confusing, that it's hard to use, that some nerds made all the money, and that the money's already probably been made, which is another classic Bitcoin joke. That they're always like, oh, someone's already made all the money on that. You have no chance. Jesse, do you have more on this? Good.
Oh yeah, I was also going to say that we won't stop talking about it. And here we are. But yeah, it's a favorite topic of people like us, and I embrace it. A couple of years ago, I did one time do a stand-up comedy show. It was called a Bit Prop comedy show, and the point of it was because just like you said, it was really bothering me that every comic I ever saw, every late night joke was just about how, and especially because these people are supposed to be like more thought oriented, more like open, more like willing to look woke or whatever the hell you want to call it. But they were completely asleep on this one, and not only that, completely unwilling to even like think about what it actually might be besides some stupid thing that nerds talk about, or that criminals, or like whatever the news says basically. Anyway, my thing was I set up a comedy show because I wanted to, and I paid all the comics in Bitcoin, and because I wanted them to have experiences with Bitcoin that were positive. And it actually worked out really nice. We did it over at PubKey here in New York, but I never my bad. I never followed through and did another one. But it was a fun thing, and it was a good thing. And I think stand-up comedy and jokes is a good place actually to go to get into to popular culture and get into the subculture mindset. If you can get people, if you can get how you do Bitcoin jokes, I don't know, but whatever.
It is so funny what people are looking for in investments and what they're not looking for. To me, if there was a bunch of criminals and a bunch of nerds, I think of the internet, right? I think of the early days of the internet when Usenet was full of crime and piracy and hackers and trading dirty images and whatever else was going to go on, which I didn't know if you guys caught the whole .com thing. They invested in every single idea, no matter how good or bad or who was running it. They blew the whole thing up. It went away. Everyone celebrated. It came right back, right? So you've lived through these two .com events where criminals and nerds and the internet made you tons of money. And then this money thing comes along, Bitcoin, right? Actual money for the internet, the place where the criminals and the nerds hang out. And you don't get in. And I have all these horrible transcripts and all this family around and whatever. And I told them 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 and I got the receipts, and they don't listen to me. And, I think I'm pretty clever and, I've done all this internet shows and stuff. And every day I'm out there like hammering this mad Bitcoins thing. Every day, every week I'm doing the Bitcoin group, like since the beginning, almost 2013. And my family and my friends and whatever, they're still not getting it. And so I know that you were probably frustrated. Your family, your friends aren't getting it. And even now it's like still probably a pretty good buy under 100. Not going to be financial advice or whatever, but still pretty good buy. And they're still not getting it. They're not seeing it. And like you were saying, Jess, I'd hope the comedians be with us. I would want them to be, to get wealthy off this. But I remember my very first week of Mad Bitcoins in 2013, Bill Maher went on his show, which again, not a great liberal, not a great example here, but still a famous comedian, and knocked the Bitcoin and how it's confusing and rip off and a scam and all these things. And he was clearly uninformed. He was clearly trying to put it in a box like a real scam where Bitcoin goes up or down. You can win or lose money on it like any other stock, but its central premise, its central core is true. And for him not to see that, and then so many other comedians, and I almost feel like coming out here like Bill Hicks talking about drugs. And it's like, I'd like to see a nice Bitcoin story on the news. A guy invests his money, waits 10 years, sells it, buys a house, lives a good life. Doesn't bother anybody, never does any drugs, sells any drugs, no tax evasion, pays taxes. How about a story like that? Never confused about it. Types in his code successfully. Never a day of confusion. Sends his transactions, they all send. I mean, that's a Bitcoin story I've heard about. But no, I'm not hearing that on the news. And I know that's a Bill Hicks bit, of course. Bless Bill Hicks. He's a great man. But yeah, and Bill Maher didn't get it. Baba Booey didn't get it. So many people didn't get it. And I made videos about it. And I've put those on the YouTube. You can go back and watch them, little remix things and little quotes and stuff. But yeah, I wish they would have got it. And still, it's funny because so many times it's like it was at 1,000, it was at 10K. And we're like, it's over. Your chances are over. And now we're sitting here at 70. And people are saying maybe 700, maybe 7 million, which means that your chances aren't over. And that all these people could do a U-turn, even just right now. My little brother did this. He was like, yeah, everybody's all saying you can't make anything. And so I'm like, I'm going to take $500 and just invest it right for a while. And again, he's up. He's like at 1,500 or something, even with the downturns. So it wasn't over. It wasn't over for those people, but they all think it's over. They think the money's already been made. It's already over. It's not over. But let's keep going here. First, shout out to Ric Edelman, one of my bald brothers here. I love his haircut. I don't know him either. Like Jess was saying, I never heard of him before. Now I thought Ric Edelman was the coach of the Sacramento Kings. But I love his haircut. Let's keep moving. Crypto millionaires Nevis project offers residents $100 a month if they approve. Belgian-born crypto millionaire Oliver Janssens reportedly offered to pay Nevis residents $100 a month if they approves his development plans for a tech-friendly libertarian community on the Caribbean island. Look at that. The community, called Destiny, aims to buy and restructure 24 acres of land on the Caribbean island, saying it'll pay residents $100 a month. The $100 is an increase from the original $11 that they announced to him for the project. Many are criticizing it, saying they've upped their bribe from $30 a month to $100 a month, clearly trying to bribe influence. It barely involves cryptocurrency. But Adam, what do you think about more of these crypto investors out on their own? As the end of the article says, their plan is to separate from society, which I always thought was the underlying current of these Bitcoin Citadel projects, where we're all going to live together and be happy in a big commune, and we're going to build giant walls to keep out the hoi polloi and the normal people and those who didn't buy and so forth. Adam, they're actually trying to build it in the Caribbean. What do you think about the bribe in the project?
Yeah, I mean, paying someone £100 a month, dollars a month if they do your thing is definitely bribery. But then so is the tax cuts that every politician offers and the subsidies that every politician offers. Bribery is normal in politics. That's how politics is done. It sounds like they should hold out for $1,000 a month, though, to me. If it's already gone up 10x, let's hold out, let it go up more. Um, I like building and I like investments. So if he's there to invest and build, I would say let him do it. If he's wants to be like tax exempt and law exempt, then that's no, we don't do that. But as long as you're paying your taxes and obeying the law, sure, build some stuff. It'd be great.
It does seem that that long-term tax exemption is the real problem here. They want to give you a short-term benefit, whatever it is, and then they're just going to take and take and take and take and take and take forever. And that's why it's a bad deal. And it's that marshmallow problem again. You want to just eat the marshmallow now, but if you wait, there will be hundreds of marshmallow. And I agree with Adam that yeah, if they already went up 10 times on their deal, this is like that airplane thing where they're like, we need somebody to give up their seat. $10, $100, $1,000, $5,000. Like, obviously somebody's going to crack, but let's wait a little more. Let's get a bigger bribe. Jesse, what do you think about the plan, the Citadel, and a beautiful Caribbean island, which I'd love to check out? Send me a free ticket.
Yeah, it does remind me. I was thinking the same thing about the airplane thing. I always like to say that libertarianism is a beautiful and wonderful philosophy and system with one fatal flaw: reality. Heard of it? I remember Eric Voorhees was going to do every communism, socialism, totalitarianism, capitalism, democracy. Everything's been tried. I've never seen libertarianism ever even make it past like 3 people living. It's called the iron law of oligarchy. You can't get 3 people. And the idea of like let people do what they want as long as they don't hurt anybody. But what world can you be in where somebody doesn't hurt somebody? Anyway. Well, I love the idea of libertarianism actually, but I could goof on it. I feel like I could goof on it for a half an hour because it's just there's so many like funny jokes to think about if you actually lived in a libertarian society. And anyway, getting back to this story.
It's all about the butterfly effect, where the butterfly flaps its wings and affects the wind currents and it ruins the crop somewhere. Everything's interconnected. There's no, like, not hurting somebody is a very complex thing, especially if you're dumping pesticides in the river or whatever it is. It hurts a lot of people downstream. And of course, The Simpsons has a reference for everything. So I think it's important to get this out here. There's a famous Simpsons where Homer goes to the union meeting and they say, okay, we're going to give you a free keg of beer for every union meeting, but we're taking away the dental plan. And in Homer's head, it's like, Lisa needs braces, dental plan. Lisa needs braces, dental plan. And that's what they're offering to these people. And it's so disingenuous and so like, we made our money. We're smarter than you. You are stupid little country people from a small island. We're going to give you $10. Oh, you don't like 10? How about 100? They're obviously going to profit off these people horribly over the years if they get these tax exemptions, if they get this right to build whatever they want, probably not to have building codes and safety requirements for the workers, for the people that live there, for the ground afterwards. In the U.S., the military famously poisoned many places, such as the Sacramento rail yards. And for like 50 years, we've been trying to get the poison out. What do you think they want to do here in these Caribbean islands? Cut corners, use simpler methods, clean the ground with napalm. I don't know what they're going to do, but if there's no rules, as is a libertarian beautiful dream, they always screw you. They always wreck the ground. They always wreck the earth. The commons are always destroyed. And this is, like Jess is saying, that's why libertarian is such a fun thing to read about in a Ayn Rand book. But then you try to have a libertarian club and you realize you're negotiating with 20 other kings and they're each royal and you have to kind of do these dances. And then even then they don't have that much power because it's hard to build a large libertarian empire. Even here, they're trying to bribe the common people because they know they won't agree with their plans. Similar to what's going on with the Republican Party, where they're trying to stop everyone from voting with poll taxes and grandfather clauses and ID requirements and passport requirements, and you can't change your name requirements. This is all because their ideas are unpopular. And if they had a real vote where everybody voted, again, we have about 60%, 50% population of participation in the United States elections. If everybody voted, you wouldn't get your ideas through. Your ideas are incredibly unpopular. You have to change the system. You have to bribe the people. And it's not a good look for libertarianism. It's not a good look for Bitcoin billionaires or whatever these guys are. They could pay a fair wage. They could follow construction rules. They could pay the taxes. They just don't want to. They just don't want to. We could have so much more money if we don't pay anybody. I mean, it's just that it's sad. It's just that simple. And we've talked about it here before. The AI is trying to take all your jobs. And we could do that slowly and we could put controls on it. And we could even make human monitors sit there and do the output or whatever, like they did in Soviet Russia. But we're not gonna. We're just gonna let the roller coaster throw all of you off and then see what happens when you land all over the place. It's not a great plan, but we're not great planners. Unfortunately, I don't know why. We go to wars, we don't even reload the missiles. The simplest of things, like I played 100 stupid StarCraft video games, and I always reload the missiles before I go to war. But it doesn't matter these days. But any more on this issue? We've drifted a little bit. But Jess or Adam, any more?
No, that was fun.
Libertarians all want to be kings. They should be anarchists with no kings. That's what we want. Libertarianism is nonsense. Anarchism is much better.
That's right. Well, anarchism's so bad because no one respects your territory. They're always stepping on your feet, messing up your shoes. But this is Bitcoin Group episode number 486. So we want to dedicate it to the Intel 486, officially named i486 or 804086, a microprocessor introduced in 1989, a higher performance follow-up to the Intel 386, representing the fourth generation of binary compatible CPUs following the 8086 of 1978, the 80286 of 1982, and 1985's i386, the last major chip before the Pentium took over. Episode 486. We do have time for predictions or story of the week. Jesse, do you have a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to offer my humble apologies to everybody watching this show, for everyone who has watched this show, because the last time I was on a few months ago, I did predict the market would go up. And I know a lot of people probably changed their trajectory of their lives over that assessment. So for anybody I might have damaged or hurt with my egregious prediction, I just want to apologize to everybody. And that's my story of the week. I'll be humbling myself and doing some meditation and self-stroking to kind of feel better about that. Thank you for your attention in this matter.
And that is bad news for Jesse, as I've been doing lots of AI work, converting the Bitcoin Group to audio, converting the audio files to text transcripts, having advanced AI search all of the transcripts, and I am attempting to determine who has predicted the price correctly in the past. And it's kind of like wobbly, like I don't really trust it right now, but there are some incoming prediction numbers we are working on, so watch out for that. And again, you could do your own on AI. No one's stopping you. You could disagree with my numbers and perform your own calculations. Adam, do you have a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
My story of the week is that today I booked a hotel and flights to Mallorca, and I will be coming to Blockchain Days. So I'll see you there in July, I think. When Tom, you coming?
Yep, I'm coming again. They changed the hotel, so I'm not so sure about it. But yeah, I love Mallorca. We always have a great time hanging out with the crew. Like we just hang out, Starship, we just hung out in Manchester at the great Bitcoin Manchester event, BitFest. And it would be great to hang out again in Mallorca. It's kind of a smaller convention. There's not big fancy names. And I think even the big fancy names they have kind of deserted them. But
we'll all fit
still
on the
a
boat.
nice time. It's still a nice time out there in the waters of Mallorca. And let's see, I'm getting my story of the week ready. Almost have it. I want one more image before I talk about movies, because it's the week of the Oscars. I thought the Oscars were last week. I showed up early at my friend's Oscars party. I was a week early. But this gives me a whole nother week to watch the movies. And I hadn't seen hardly any of them this year. This happens sometimes. I still would like to see many of them that I haven't seen, so don't send me spoilers. I very much enjoyed one battle after another. Of course, P.T. Anderson, pretty much one of the greatest filmmakers working right now. Boogie Nights, Magnolia, There Will Be Blood, so on and so forth. Great movie, Leonardo DiCaprio. It's a thriller, seemed like a Hitchcock, like North by Northwest. But what if all of North by Northwest was like making you sweat? So I'd like to see that one again. It's been a little while. I watched recently, to try to catch up, I watched Begonia. This is my like sleeper pick for Best Picture. I think this might be the best movie. Even though I thought for a long time One Battle was just going to take it all the way, and I've heard great things about Sinners, but I haven't seen it yet. Begonia is kind of a science fiction movie. It's kind of about MAGA and belief and the internet and echo chambers and this kind of thing. I think it's a very poignant take on our times. I think you should check it out. I don't want to spoil it. You got to watch till the end. I also enjoyed Train Dreams, though it was just horribly, horribly sad. Also beautiful. It tells the story of a logger, and it's not really a spoiler, but they chose just the perfect time period to place this man in, where he starts out logging with the train, you know, kind of conquering the West, and by the end of his life, the country has transformed through kind of the work that they did, logging and building the railroads, leading to cars, leading to spaceships, leading to airplanes. All of this, just what an amazing time of the United States and also technology history in a beautiful but horribly sad movie. Well filmed, really nice film. And I also enjoyed Hamnet, the story of William Shakespeare and his son. Beautifully filmed, horribly, horribly, horribly sad. I'm bawling through this movie. But the other thing I wanted to note about Hamnet is the way they filmed it with realistic lighting from the time period. Yeah, you'll notice right away it seems dark, and then they show you one of the windows, and all the light is coming from the windows. It's a beautifully lit film, just like Train Dreams. I don't think either Train Dreams will win. Probably not very much. They usually give them something like cinematography or maybe one of the writing awards. I think we're mainly still talking One Battle or Sinners, but my quiet secret pick is Begonia. So check that out if you haven't already. I'll open us to the panel. Obviously, no spoilers and stuff, but have you guys seen any of the Oscar movies? Do you have any interest? We'll go to Jesse, then we'll go to Adam.
I'm very lucky. My wife does like background work, so she's in SAG, so we get to go to a lot of screeners. So yeah, I've seen most of them actually, and yeah, I'm with you, man. I think One Battle After Another was probably my favorite movie of the year, and I did like Begonia a lot, and those are probably the two favorite. Hamnet, I did like. I mean, it was very sad, but it was really emotional, and the acting was incredible. And Jessie Buckley, the girl. Actually, I just saw the other one, The Bride, which got really sort of, this is for this year, but because it just came out, it got really like weird mixed reviews. I don't want to ruin anything, but it's like it's kind of has like the Joker vibe, the Joker 2, but like if it was done like in a really good way. I liked it a lot. So I will recommend The Bride because it's like a movie that's not doing great at the box office, but I think it's definitely like a very cool, interesting movie to watch. So that's sort of my take on those.
Yeah, I totally agree. The actress in Hamnet who played Shakespeare's wife was just so expressive in her face and her grief. And she would cry, I'm crying, she's crying, I'm crying. And not to really expose spoil the film, but it kind of gives you a new take on Hamlet and like what that meant for Shakespeare personally. And it seems like he's kind of reversing the grief where Hamlet has lost a father and Shakespeare has spoiler, a son. But Adam, what do you think about these Oscar movies? Do you have any interest? Have you seen any of the films this year?
I have not seen any of those films. All my friends tell me that Sinners is good, so that's been on my list, and now I've just added Begonia to the list on your advice. I saw that they're making a film of Project Hail Mary. I saw a poster for today, so I might see that as well. But so far, I've seen none of them. No.
I'm very excited for the Project Hail Mary movie. I love the book. It's still available if you guys want to read the book. Like Lord of the Rings, it's your last chance to have an original idea of what the book was like in your head. But the visuals from the film look great so far. I haven't watched a trailer. I know the plot, but it looks like 2001: A Space Odyssey. All kinds of like just amazing spacey visuals. I look forward to that. There's also another movie note coming up. They're going to re-release the original Star Wars that George Lucas hacked to death and cut out all the cool visual effects made by spaceships that are made out of plastic. I've always been watching this version. I've only been interested in the restored version made by someone on the internet, the other restored version, and the other restored version they got from the original negative and so forth. So I've always been in this real Star Wars camp, but a lot of people are telling me, we've never seen the original effects. We've only seen that stupid garbage that Lucas put out, and Greedo shoots first and all this kind of nonsense. And so that'll all go away because Disney has it now, and they just want money. So they're going to take money off me to go see it in the theater. Then they're going to take money off me to buy it on Blu-ray or Black-ray or whatever the highest quality they'll give me. And I'm going to buy it, and then they're going to ignore it for 20 years and go back to the special editions, which weren't that special, which we were also excited about at the time. But as it turns out, no, we like the originals. But yeah, that one and Project Hail Mary. Let us know in the chat what you think about the Oscar movies. If you've seen any of them, try not to spoil them. Again, I think Begonia has a sci-fi flavor, great music. I think also just the music in Begonia was so good. The music in Train Dreams and some of these other films, it just really takes you in with this kind of cinematic score thing. And especially watching Begonia, just from the beginning, I'm watching the music. I'm listening to the music cues. And I'm very interested with what the filmmakers are doing and what direction it's going to go. And I go on both sides, like the whole movie. I'm swinging back and forth. And I think that's a great technique, a great script, a great idea that they brought together. So I look forward to seeing your comments and your ideas on this. Thanks to Jesse and Adam for being on the show. We had some time zone issues in the UK. We could have had a lot more people here, and we hope to have a lot more next week. We've been trying to invite a lot more people on the show, try to keep the show going, because it's way more interesting for me to talk to people than to talk to myself. So, but thanks for joining us in the chat and the comments below and giving us a thumbs up and a subscribe. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.
Mark.